My coworker spent 3 months asking detailed questions about my $50,000 commission deal, claiming she wanted to learn from my expertise. The morning of my client presentation, I discovered she had rescheduled it to an hour earlier and was presenting my ideas as her own. But I had something she didn't expect: every conversation we'd ever had about this deal recorded. Before I dive into this story of workplace betrayal and the sweetest professional revenge imaginable, let me know where you're watching from in the comments below. Hit that like button if you've ever had a coworker try to steal credit for your work, and subscribe to True Revenge for more stories of workplace justice served cold. My name is Jessica, I'm 29 years old, and until 3 months ago, I thought mentoring a younger colleague was just part of being a good team player. This story begins with what I thought was genuine admiration and ends with the most satisfying moment of professional vindication I could have ever imagined. I work as a senior account manager at Pinnacle Marketing Solutions, a mid-sized advertising agency in Denver. I've been with the company for 6 years, working my way up from junior account coordinator to one of their top performers. My specialty is developing comprehensive digital marketing strategies for tech companies, and I've built a reputation for landing and keeping high-value clients. Commission structure at Pinnacle is competitive. We earn a base salary plus percentage-based commissions on new client acquisitions and contract renewals. A really good year can nearly double your income, which is why landing major clients is so crucial to our financial success. 8 months ago, our company hired Lisa Chen as a junior account manager. She was 24, fresh out of her MBA program and eager to prove herself in the advertising world. Lisa was smart, articulate, and had that hungry energy that reminded me of myself when I first started in the industry. From her first day, Lisa seemed particularly interested in my work. She'd stop by my desk to ask questions about client management, strategy development, and presentation techniques. She was always taking notes, always eager to learn, always complimenting my innovative approaches. "Jessica, you're exactly the kind of professional I want to become," she told me during her second week. "Would you be willing to mentor me? I know you're busy, but I could really use guidance from someone with your expertise." I was flattered and agreed immediately. I remembered how much I'd appreciated mentorship when I was starting out, and Lisa seemed like someone with real potential. Plus, our manager Brad had been encouraging senior staff to take more active roles in developing junior team members. For the first few months, the mentoring relationship worked well. Lisa would shadow me during client calls, observe my presentations, and ask thoughtful questions about strategy development. She was a quick learner and seemed genuinely grateful for the guidance. Then, 5 months ago, I landed the biggest potential client of my career. TechFlow Industries was a rapidly growing software company looking to completely overhaul its digital marketing approach. They were planning to spend $500,000 over the next year on a comprehensive campaign, which would mean a $50,000 commission for whoever landed the account, more than I'd ever earned from a single client. The initial meeting with TechFlow went exceptionally well. The CEO, Mark Rodriguez, and their marketing director, Sarah Kim, were impressed with my preliminary ideas and asked me to develop a detailed proposal for a follow-up presentation. They gave me 6 weeks to create a comprehensive strategy that would demonstrate how Pinnacle could transform their digital presence. I was thrilled but also terrified. This was my chance to prove I could handle enterprise-level clients and potentially earn enough commission to finally buy the condo I'd been saving for. Lisa was among the first people I told about landing the TechFlow meeting. "Jessica, that's incredible," she said, practically bouncing with excitement. "A $50,000 commission would be life-changing. You must be so nervous about the presentation." "Nervous but excited," I admitted. "I've never worked on something this big before." "Well, if anyone can do it, it's you. Is there anything I can do to help? I know I'm just a junior, but maybe I could assist with research or brainstorming." Her offer seemed genuine, and I appreciated the support. "Actually, that would be great. I could use someone to bounce ideas off while I develop the strategy." That's when what I thought was mentorship turned into what I now realize was a 3-month intelligence gathering operation. Over the following weeks, Lisa became my unofficial project partner. She'd ask detailed questions about every aspect of the TechFlow strategy, target demographics, budget allocation, platform recommendations, content strategies, performance metrics, and timeline planning. She claimed she wanted to understand how enterprise-level campaigns are developed and learn from watching a master at work. I was so focused on the project and so flattered by her admiration that I shared everything. During our lunch meetings, I'd walk her through my research findings. In the evenings when I was working late, she'd offer to stay and help, asking me to explain my thinking behind each strategic decision. "Why did you choose Instagram over LinkedIn for the B2B component?" she'd ask, taking detailed notes. "How did you calculate the budget split between content creation and ad spend? What made you decide on this particular influencer partnership approach?" I answered every question, explaining not just what I was doing but why I was doing it. I thought I was providing valuable learning experiences for an eager mentee. What I was actually doing was giving her a masterclass in my entire strategic approach. The most damaging conversations happened during what I thought were casual strategy sessions. Lisa would suggest we grab coffee and talk through the TechFlow project because she was so fascinated by the complexity of enterprise marketing. During these sessions, she'd ask me to walk through the entire presentation flow, explain my reasoning behind specific recommendations, and detail how I plan to address potential client objections. She always had her notebook out, supposedly taking notes for her own learning. "This is such an innovative approach to their conversion funnel," she'd say. "Can you explain again how the email sequence integrates with the social media strategy?" I'd launch into detailed explanations, proud to share my expertise with someone who seemed so genuinely interested in learning. What I didn't realize was that Lisa wasn't just taking notes for her own education. She was building a complete blueprint of my strategy that she could present as her own work. 3 weeks before my TechFlow presentation, I started noticing some subtle changes in Lisa's behavior. She became less available for our mentoring sessions, claiming she was swamped with her own client work. When we did talk, she seemed distracted and asked fewer questions about the TechFlow project. "I think I've learned as much as I can from observing," she said when I offered to walk her through my latest revisions. "I don't want to be a distraction during your final preparation phase." I thought she was being considerate of my time as the presentation approached. What she was actually doing was avoiding any conversation that might reveal she was developing her own version of my proposal. 2 weeks before the TechFlow presentation, I submitted my complete strategy proposal to Brad for internal review. This was standard procedure for major client pitches. Our manager would review the proposal, offer feedback, and sometimes sit in on the presentation itself. "This is exceptional work, Jessica," Brad told me after reviewing the document. "Probably the most comprehensive strategy proposal I've seen from our team. TechFlow would be crazy not to sign with us." His approval gave me a huge confidence boost. I spent the final 2 weeks refining my presentation materials, practicing my delivery, and preparing for potential questions from the client. Presentation was scheduled for Tuesday morning at 10 a.m. On Monday afternoon, I did a final run-through with Brad, who again praised the quality of the work and wished me luck. "Just be yourself tomorrow," he advised. "You know this material better than anyone. Show them the passion and expertise that landed the meeting in the first place." I went home Monday night feeling as prepared as I'd ever been for anything in my professional life. I'd spent 3 months developing what I believed was a winning strategy, and I was ready to prove I could handle enterprise-level clients. Tuesday morning, I arrived at the office early to review my notes one final time and make sure all my presentation materials were ready. The meeting was scheduled for 10 a.m. in Conference Room A with Mark Rodriguez and Sarah Kim from TechFlow. 9:45, I gathered my materials and walked to the conference room, expecting to find it empty so I could set up my laptop and prepare for the client's arrival. Instead, I found the room occupied. Lisa was sitting at the head of the conference table with my TechFlow clients, her own laptop connected to the presentation screen. She was in the middle of what appeared to be a detailed strategy presentation. And as you can see from this conversion funnel analysis, she was saying, "The integrated approach between email marketing and social media will maximize your customer acquisition cost efficiency." I recognized those exact words because they came from my proposal. She was presenting my strategy, using my research, explaining my innovative approaches as if she had developed them herself. For a moment, I stood frozen in the doorway, unable to process what I was seeing. Mark and Sarah were nodding along, clearly impressed with what they were hearing. Lisa noticed me and looked up with what appeared to be genuine surprise. "Oh, Jessica. There must have been a scheduling mix-up. I thought your meeting was at 11. "My meeting is at 10, I said, my voice steady despite the shock. "It's always been at 10. "That's strange," Lisa replied, pulling out her phone. "I have it in my calendar for 9:30. Mark and Sarah arrived early, so we just got started. Mark Rodriguez looked confused. "I'm sorry, but who exactly are we meeting with?" Lisa introduced herself as the lead strategist for our account. Before I could respond, Lisa jumped in. "Jessica is one of my team members. She's been helping with research and data compilation for your strategy. I thought she might join us for the latter part of the presentation." The audacity was breathtaking. She had not only stolen my client meeting but was now positioning me as her subordinate who had merely assisted with her brilliant strategy. Sarah Kim looked at her watch. "We actually need to wrap up soon. We have another meeting at 10:30. Lisa, this presentation has been impressive. The integrated approach you've developed is exactly what we've been looking for." "I'm so glad you're pleased with the strategy," Lisa replied smoothly. "I've put a lot of thought into developing an approach that would maximize your marketing ROI. I stood in the doorway listening to my coworker take credit for 3 months of my work, claim ownership of my innovative strategies, and position herself as the lead on a $50,000 commission that rightfully belonged to me. That's when I remembered something that Lisa had forgotten in her rush to steal my client and my commission. For the past 3 months, every time Lisa had asked me detailed questions about the TechFlow strategy, every time she'd requested that I walk her through my thinking, every time she'd claimed she wanted to learn from my expertise, I had recorded our conversations. Started innocently enough. About 6 months ago, I'd begun using a voice recording app during client calls and strategy meetings as a way to capture important details I might miss while taking notes. The app was always running during work-related conversations, partly for reference and partly to protect myself in an industry where credit for ideas can sometimes become disputed. When Lisa began asking detailed questions about the TechFlow project, those conversations were automatically being recorded along with everything else. I had dozens of audio files documenting her asking me to explain every aspect of the strategy she was now claiming as her own work. "Actually," I said, stepping into the conference room, "I think there's been a misunderstanding about who developed this strategy." Lisa's confident expression faltered slightly. "Jessica, I appreciate your contributions to the research phase, but as the lead strategist—" "You're the lead strategist?" I interrupted, pulling out my phone. "That's interesting because I have recordings of you asking me to explain every single element of this strategy over the past 3 months." The room went silent. Mark and Sarah looked confused. Lisa's face went pale. "I'm not sure what you're implying," Lisa said, but her voice had lost its confident tone. "I'm not implying anything," I replied, opening my recording app. "I'm stating facts. Would you like me to play the conversation from 2 weeks ago where you asked me to explain the conversion funnel analysis you just presented to my clients?" "Your clients?" Lisa tried to maintain her composure. "Jessica, I think you're confused about the team structure here." "Let me clear up any confusion," I said, pressing play on the recording. Lisa's voice filled the conference room. "Jessica, can you walk me through the TechFlow conversion funnel one more time? I want to make sure I understand how the email sequence integrates with the social media strategy. This is such an innovative approach. How did you come up with the idea to—" I paused the recording. Mark and Sarah were staring at Lisa with expressions of growing suspicion. "Would you like to hear the recording from 3 weeks ago where you asked me to explain the budget allocation strategy?" I asked. "Or perhaps the one from last month where you asked me to detail the influencer partnership approach?" Lisa's composure cracked completely. Those were just. I was helping you refine your ideas through discussion. By asking me to explain ideas you're now claiming you developed? I pulled up another recording. Here's you asking me to walk through the entire presentation flow because you were so fascinated by the complexity of enterprise marketing. I played a few seconds of that recording too. Lisa's voice was asking detailed questions about strategy elements she had just presented as her own work. Mark Rodriguez cleared his throat. I'm confused about what's happening here. Lisa, did you develop this strategy or not? We worked on it collaboratively, Lisa stammered. Jessica provided input on my overall strategic framework. That's not what these recordings suggest, I said calmly. They suggest that I spent 3 months developing this strategy while you asked detailed questions under the guise of mentorship, then scheduled a meeting with my clients to present my work as your own. Sarah Kim was looking at Lisa with obvious disapproval. This is extremely concerning. We were led to believe that Lisa was the primary strategist for our account. She's not, I said firmly. I landed this client meeting. I spent 3 months developing this strategy. This is my presentation that was scheduled for 10 a.m. today, just as it's been scheduled since we first met. I pulled out my email confirmations showing the original meeting time and my role as the primary contact for the TechFlow account. Mark stood up, clearly uncomfortable with the situation. This is unprecedented. We came here expecting to work with a professional team, not to witness internal office politics. Mr. Rodriguez, I completely understand your concerns, I said. What happened here today is not representative of how Pinnacle Marketing Solutions operates. I take full responsibility for not ensuring clear communication about team roles. Lisa tried one last desperate attempt to salvage the situation. Mark, Sarah, I think there's been a misunderstanding about collaborative processes. In marketing teams, we often stop, I said firmly. I have 3 months of recordings documenting you asking me to explain every element of this strategy. I have email confirmations showing this was my client meeting. I have the original strategy proposal with my name on it as the primary author. I turned to Mark and Sarah. I understand if you need time to reconsider working with our firm, given this unfortunate situation. But I want you to know that the strategy you've just seen is my work, developed specifically for TechFlow Industries over the past 3 months. Sarah looked at her watch. We do need to leave for our next meeting. This situation is highly unusual. We'll need to discuss internally how we want to proceed. After they left, I was alone in the conference room with Lisa, who looked like she was about to cry. Jessica, I can explain. No need to explain, I said, gathering my materials. The recordings speak for themselves. I'm going to see Brad now to discuss what happened here. Please don't go to Brad, Lisa begged. I can fix this. We can say it was a misunderstanding about meeting times. It wasn't a misunderstanding, Lisa. It was theft. You stole my client, my commission, and 3 months of my work. Brad's reaction to the situation was immediate and decisive. After listening to several of the recordings, he called an emergency meeting with HR and our department director. This is the most blatant case of intellectual property theft I've seen in 15 years with this company, he told the room. Lisa deliberately gathered confidential strategic information under false pretenses, then attempted to present it as her own work to steal a client and commission from a colleague. The HR investigation took 2 days. During that time, I provided all my recordings, email confirmations, and documentation showing my role as the primary contact for TechFlow Industries. Lisa's story kept changing as each piece of evidence was presented. First, she claimed it was a collaborative effort where she had contributed significantly to the strategy development. The recordings proved that it was false. She had only asked questions, never offered ideas or insights. Then she claimed there had been a genuine misunderstanding about meeting times and team roles. The email records proved that it was false. She had deliberately rescheduled the meeting without my knowledge. Finally, she admitted to taking the strategy but claimed she was improving it based on what she had learned from our mentoring sessions. This defense fell apart when it became clear that her improvements were word-for-word presentations of my original work. On Thursday, Lisa was terminated for theft of intellectual property and breach of professional ethics. Brad informed me that TechFlow had agreed to reschedule our presentation for the following week. They were actually impressed that you handled the situation so professionally, he told me. Mark Rodriguez said that your calm response and documentation of the situation demonstrated exactly the kind of strategic thinking and problem-solving skills they want in a marketing partner. The rescheduled presentation went flawlessly. Mark and Sarah signed a one-year contract worth $500,000, earning me the $50,000 commission I had worked so hard to achieve. But the most satisfying part wasn't the money. It was the moment when Mark Rodriguez pulled me aside after signing the contract. "Jessica, I have to tell you, watching how you handled that situation with your coworker was impressive. You stayed professional, had documentation to back up your claims, and didn't let personal drama interfere with delivering excellent work. That kind of integrity is exactly what we look for in business partners." 3 months later, TechFlow renewed their contract for an additional $750,000, calling our campaign the most successful marketing initiative in their company's history. The renewal commission was $75,000, more than I'd ever earned in a single year. Lisa's termination became a cautionary tale throughout our industry. Word spread quickly through professional networks about the junior account manager who had tried to steal a colleague's client and commission. Her reputation was damaged enough that she ended up leaving advertising entirely. I learned several important lessons from this experience. First, mentorship should always be reciprocal. Real ments contribute ideas and insights, they don't just extract information. Second, documentation is crucial in any professional environment where credit and compensation are tied to individual contributions. Third, sometimes the people who praise your work the most are the ones planning to steal it. But the most important lesson was about trusting my instincts. Looking back, there were signs that Lisa's questions were too detailed, too focused on extracting specific information rather than understanding general principles. I dismissed my concerns because I wanted to be a good mentor and because her flattery made me feel valued. Now, I'm more careful about what information I share and with whom. I still mentor junior colleagues, but I look for genuine curiosity about learning rather than focused extraction of proprietary information. And I continue recording all my work-related conversations, not because I'm paranoid, but because documentation protects everyone involved. TechFlow account became the foundation of my career advancement. 6 months after landing the initial contract, I was promoted to senior account director with a team of my own. The experience taught me how to handle high-stakes clients and gave me the confidence to pursue even larger accounts. Today, I manage a portfolio of enterprise clients worth over $3 million annually. My commission income has tripled since the TechFlow situation, and I've built a reputation as someone who delivers innovative strategies while maintaining the highest professional standards. I never heard from Lisa again after her termination, but I occasionally think about what might have happened if I hadn't recorded our conversations. She would have stolen my biggest career opportunity, damaged my reputation with an important client, and potentially derailed my professional advancement. Instead, her attempt to sabotage me ended up highlighting my professionalism and strategic thinking to a client who became one of my strongest advocates in the industry. Sometimes the best revenge isn't planning elaborate schemes or seeking dramatic confrontations. Sometimes it's simply being prepared, staying professional, and letting the evidence speak for itself. If you enjoyed this story of workplace betrayal and professional vindication, please give this video a like and subscribe to True Revenge for more stories of justice served. Share your own experiences with backstabbing coworkers in the comments below. Have you ever had someone try to steal credit for your work? Remember, in today's competitive workplace, it's not paranoid to document your contributions and protect your intellectual property. Sometimes the people who seem most supportive are actually your biggest threats. Thank you for listening to my story, and remember, always trust your instincts, document your work, and never let anyone steal the credit you've earned through hard work and expertise.